I want to follow up for a second on the New York Liberty's huge acquisition. Emma Meesseman coming over, obviously a big deal. I'm kind of curious how Sandy Brondello is going to balance those minutes, quite frankly, with Brianna Stewart and John Cole Jones in the front court. How is that going to work out? A good problem to have, I suppose. I had read before that Meesseman wanted to go to a big city. So clearly New York City qualifies. Perhaps that's where she was going to go no matter what. So it's hard to say anybody missed out on her if that was her target and her plan in the first place. Now, how did the Liberty make it happen? Because I've seen complaints from fans. How are they able to do this? And then, from Fever fans, why didn't the Fever do this? Or what are the Fever going to do? I want to get into all that. But let's start with how the Liberty were able to do this. Well, first, they're a well-run organization who run and handle the salary cap well. The way that they were able to acquire Fibic in a deal and then have her contribute as much as she did in the development of the team, that was a big deal last season. Then Jonathan Kolb has done a good job managing the contracts, that the GM there. And they, had some stuff happen that helped them out, including the suspension of Lainey Hamilton's contract, who got hurt in Unrivaled. And I believe Unrivaled is paying her deal, but the deal is paused for the cap sake. So if you look at the Liberty's cap situation, you'll be able to see that it's very team friendly. I mean, this is what Fibic is making. Must have been when she was overseas that they, playing in Eurobasket or whatever. Then you have Stewart and UNESCO and Cloud on good team friendly deals, relatively speaking, not even making the quote unquote super max. And then you have Lainey Hamilton, whose contract is suspended at $185K. So basically almost another max deal, which gave them the room to operate. And then you got a great deal on like Johannes, as you see there. So just well-run cap by the New York Liberty. Not to mention, on top of that, they're able to make some moves because they had a big contract suspended. So you take those into consideration. Here's another look at their why they were able to make it happen. Rookie contract, vet mins, and then, players not into that supermax territory. Now, when it goes to a team like the Fever, and this goes for really every WNBA team, could they be scouting better internationally? Perhaps so. I think that's an untapped market for the WNBA in a sense. Now, in one way, it's strange because so many players play in the WNBA and play overseas. So there's that cross-pollination where you're familiar. It's not as if Meesseman necessarily needed to be scouted other than perhaps what she's done lately, but in general. And then there are the examples of teams like the Mercury, the Valkyries, making smart international signings, like Salon for the Valkyries, big time, great signing, right? That's the kind of move maybe the Fever should have made. As far as Indiana goes, though, I see a lot of blame being placed on Brianna Turner, and I think that's misplaced. Not that she's offering anything. She ain't done nothing. I ain't saying otherwise. But every team has bench warmers, and every team has players who aren't contributing. The real problem with the Fever's cap situation going into the year was the dead cap of Katie Lou Samuelson. Katie Lou said, this is 2026, by the way. Look at this. They got almost nobody on the cap, which we'll get to in a second. Just Boston, Clark, and Timpson. But in 2025, it's a little bit different because you have dead cap, which is going to come off. That is owed to Katie Lou Samuelson. Look at that, $106,000. Dead cap. Now, the Fever did make signings. They did. I mean, they signed Natasha Howard. You can think what you want about it. She was one of the bigger free agents on the market. Mixed results so far, I would say. She's played better as of late. They signed DeWanna Bonner. That obviously blew up in everybody's face, but her leaving is the reason they have money now, which is why I would expect that cap space that you see there to be utilized soon to add a 12th player to the roster. Brianna Turner is making just over a veteran's minimum. She is not the reason for the Fever being in any sort of financial straits or issue or cap situation. And the reason, I keep saying why they cut Brianna Turner, they only have 11 players. They ain't going to cut somebody unless they need to cut somebody to sign somebody. They have an extra roster spot to maneuver with. So I just think a lot of energy is being wasted on Brianna Turner's situation for whatever reason when you can go across the league and there are players who aren't playing that many minutes or aren't contributing much. The problem is if they're being paid big bucks and she's not. So it just feels like displaced anger or frustration or whatever. Now, the cap space that is opening up is important because nearly every player in the league is going to be a free agent after this season, assuming all the stuff gets worked out between the league and the players. When you hit free agency, I mean, look at this comment, looking real natural in that locker room. I'm not saying Sabrina Ionescu is leaving the New York Liberty. I highly doubt it, but she's a free agent. On top of that, you know who else is a free agent? How about one Nafisa Collier? Talk about a perfect fit for the holes in the Fever lineup or that player that they've been searching for. And I'm not saying they're landing her either, but there are so many players who are going to be available and free agents. So many. And the Fever are going to have the money to work with then. So if you're ever going to see a quote unquote super team, I would imagine the 2026 version will be when it occurs. For right now, the New York Liberty kind of have that super team market cornered. I do think it is fair to declare them a super team. Now, the Fever play the Liberty in the next game. Meesseman has to have her visa issues situated, so I can't imagine she'll be available for that game. Caitlin Clark has officially been ruled out for that game, which is not a surprise. And the Fever's season hinges on Caitlin Clark's health. There's really, you can spin things all sorts of different directions, kick up a lot of different rocks, look under them, but nothing is going to change that fact that that's the thing that is going to determine the success or failure of this season. Not to say that they shouldn't be making any moves, not to say that they couldn't be doing better under the current scouting thing, more international scouts, whatever the various criticisms are. But how about we also see how they use, because if we're saying they should do something, you also have to offer what they should do. And Meesseman's about the only name that was floating out there. We've seen with Ari McDonald, players can be had who can contribute. So I'm not going to judge that action until it is taken and what it looks like. Then we shall see. But just because that one specific player didn't sign with them, I can't say they missed out, if you will, because I had, when you see the way things line up, perhaps it was always going to be the New York Liberty when it comes to that signing. And there is a saying, right? The rich get richer, even if they're able to stay under the cap.